Greetings. On today's edition of The Fine Line Between Stupid and Clever, I'm going to do a little bit of a distraction from guitars for a while and show you what I did with my budget cafe racer build here. A few years ago, I had built a cafe racer electric bike that I had a great time building, and lo and behold, it got stolen. And I decided I wanted to build a cafe racer for reals this time. So I went out shopping. I picked up a 1980 Honda CM200 T Twinstar used. It had not run in about 10 years at the time. It was a really good deal on Craigslist, one of those things. But it was, and I chose it, and I'm going to go through a little bit of the decision about why I chose it, because I hadn't ridden a motorcycle in more than 20 years. I wanted something small, and this was just a 200. I also needed something that wasn't going to take up too much space in my garage, and something that's not overwhelming mechanically. And the 200 just happened to come up on sale, and it's really the perfect choice for this kind of a thing. I then kind of researched and restored the bike back to almost its original shape, and tried to sell it thinking I'd find another bike for a project, but after having difficulty selling it, realizing that I had a well-running bike and I had a title for it, I decided to keep it and do the conversion for it. So all Honda purists out there, I apologize for what you might think was ruining a perfectly good bike, but I gotta tell you, I really do love this bike right now. I'm about 185 pounds, and I can get a maximum, I can't really reach highway speeds on this thing, but I live in the foothills of Colorado, and I have had just really some euphoric times riding up some canyon roads at about 35-40 miles an hour, and I'd recommend it highly for anybody. So if you were thinking about building a cafe racer, you might think about something of this vintage and of this mechanics, and I'll walk you through it and show you what I did.
So I'll start with just a walk around the bike. The paint scheme, I went with kind of a vintage blue. It's actually the only color blue that was on sale at the time at Home Depot and rattle cans. The tank has been completely bondoed over from the old metal badges and from the top gas cap cover that is native to this tank. This is the original tank from the original bike. The tank was painted, and then I used a 2K enamel, catalyzed enamel clear coat, and then the stripes are just vinyl vintage stripes, as well as the decals. I did put an aftermarket new speedometer on there. There's about 50 bucks on Amazon. Everything else is pretty much native to the bike. I did have, these are not the original handlebars. Those have been changed. It's not technically a cafe racer. I don't have the clip-on handlebars, but the riding position is much more comfortable for me when it's up a little bit like this. The lights are 6-volt LEDs that were sourced on eBay, both for the turn signals. It's the original 6-volt system, with the exception of the tail light and the brake light, which is a 12-volt tail light and brake light, but I ended up using a voltage converter for that. I created a little pan to hold everything. Wrapped up in this shrink wrap are two voltage inverters that takes the 6-volt input from the motorcycle and boosts it up to 12 volts, so it'll run the brake light and the tail light. I beefed up the suspension. The stock shocks did not have a preload adjuster, and since I'm a little bit heavier for this bike, it was nice to get a little bit beefier shock to go along with it. I did not bother relocating the 6-volt battery. I just put some black electrical tape around it to blank it out a little bit and left it in its original space, but I did eliminate the air cleaner box and got rid of all that junk. Replaced it with just a simple little pod filter, which I'll show you on the other side here in a second. I did chop the huge trumpet exhausts off of it and put little slip-on exhausts. Those were about 60 bucks on Amazon. The bike is significantly louder than it was, and I'll run it here for you in a second, but it does give a nice sound to it, and I kind of like the bit. It's not like Harley loud, but it's a little bit louder than it was before. The great thing mechanically about this bike is that it is a twin, 2 cylinders, but it runs off of a single carburetor. So that really does kind of simplify the mechanics of it. The other beautiful thing about this is I was able to replace the carburetor on this with a $20 Chinese knockoff off of eBay. Literally, that was the biggest, all I had to do to get this bike running was replace the carb and clean it out, give it an oil change, and it ran just fine. Plus, making all the adjustments to the exhaust, and with the pod filter and the air cleaner, you would think that it would have a hard time running or it'd have all kinds of adjustment problems. It, right out of the box, it runs fine. So, very pleased with that. Really simplified the whole thing. Now, under the seat is some electronics. I have the solenoid and the LED flasher relay, and the wiring for the lights are up in there, kind of packed and nightly wound in there, but you would imagine that's pretty easy. Plus the, the voltage regulator is stuck in there as well. So it cleans things up a little bit. You do have some of that extra space behind where the airbox was, and I got rid of the chain guards and all that gobbledygook. I rebuilt the drum brakes on both sides. The only thing that I really didn't redo is the shocks on the bike, but I do have the seals for it to do it, but the shocks seem to be in good shape whenever I got. A little louder than a regular Honda. So there you go. Cheap, on the cheap, cafe racer style bike. Technically not a maybe it's more of a tracker bike because of the handlebars. You know, I'm not here to offend any purists, but I hope you like the video. And if you're out there thinking about building a cafe racer, don't be afraid of it. It's a lot of fun. And if you have the opportunity to pick up an old vintage Honda like this, keep it simple. And I think you would be very pleased. Anyway, hope you enjoy the video. Don't bother subscribing. I've got a real job. If you're going to make a comment, please be nice, and have a great day.